Hello to the listeners of Polish Voice FM. My name is Dorota Sosnowska, and today I'm hosting a weekly program entitled Return to Nature, related to broadly understood health. My guest today is a retired businessman who lives in England and Majorca, Phillip Crawford. The program is being recorded and will be published in whole or in part on our radio and on our social media. The Polish Voice FM editorial team reserves the right to state that this program and the topics we discuss here don't constitute medical advice. We provide general information and our opinions. If listeners need such advice, please contact your doctor. Today's show is entitled Cycling in Majorca and promotes 6-point cycling challenges. It's a race that takes place each year. First, I would like to introduce our guest, Phillip Crawford, who retired at the age of 50 to enjoy his life. He had a passion for walking and took up cycling only 10 years ago. We will focus on a charity race he would like to invite other professional and amateur cyclists to. The race will take place from the 17th to 19th of May. But before we give our listeners the details about the race, I would like our listeners to find out more about Phillip and his lifestyle in the context of health. Let's start from the beginning. Phillip, you have been a very successful businessman for many, many years. Would you say you led a healthy lifestyle then?
Good morning to everybody. No, I don't think I did have a particularly healthy lifestyle. Like many people who are businessmen, I flew all over the world all of the time. Lots of late nights, meals, lots of wine, lots of food. Not enough time actually to do much sport. I did some golf, but generally, no, I wasn't a healthy person, and I weighed probably 20 kilos more than I weigh today.
That's right. I remember seeing that photo before I got to know you, and what I thought then. And now you weigh much, much less. So I think you have something inspiring to tell our listeners. It's a journey. So I would like you to share what happened, how you turned around yourself physically, how you improved your health. Can you tell us more about what sports you did before you took up cycling?
Yeah, well, like many businessmen, I occasionally played rounds of golf, but it was more to do with business, actually. I was with business clients, and after the round of golf, you went into the bar or the restaurant and undid all the good work from a health point of view. I also played squash, but that was a good few years ago. I probably stopped playing squash when I was about 45. And there wasn't any particular moment in time when I suddenly thought to myself, I need to change. I used to go walking with my brother every year. My brother is a very fit man, weighed significantly less than me. We walked along the coastal paths in Wales, and each year it used to get increasingly tough for me, and he would be bounding along and I'd be struggling in his wake trying to keep up. And I just thought, wouldn't it be nice one day if I could actually walk as fast as he did, and for him not to have to keep on waiting for me at the top of the cliffs. So that's when I decided maybe something else, a fitter approach might be the right answer.
Okay, so it was inspiration from your brother who actually played in your mind, and you thought maybe I should do something about it. I know you have a gym at your home, and you use it quite a lot. Do you still use it a lot?
Yes, I use particularly in the winter, I use an inside bike, and I'm not talking about a regular bicycle. It's got a lot of feedback. There are a number of brands out there, but some of your listeners might be familiar with Peloton. But there are other makes out there where when you're actually on the machine, you've got software in front of you, and you get feedback through the software to the machine you're on, and it feels as close as it can be to cycling on the road.
Yes.
But I've also got a step machine, I've got a running machine, I've got a rowing machine. But like I'm sure many of your listeners, working out in a gym just really doesn't do it for me. I much prefer to be out in nature, out on the road, because you get all those smells, you get the sun, you get the wind. You know, it's an entirely different experience when you're actually outside.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you already started mentioning benefits of cycling, but what made you take up cycling? It's a very demanding sport.
Yeah, I had a boat that was down in Mallorca, in Palma, Mallorca, and I used to go down to the boat, and I used to get visitors to come and stay on the boat, and so I had about 4 or 5 bicycles on the boat, so that we could go for a cycle along the seafront, and you could cycle for around about let's call it 10 kilometers, maybe a little less, all along the flat. Stop at a restaurant, have a nice meal, cycle back, and then have a sleep. Seemed like a great idea and seemed like a lot of exercise at that time. Then one day I had a friend to come and stay, and I suggested we go on my normal bike ride. And he said, why don't we hire some proper road bikes and go for a ride up in the mountains? And I thought, well, why not? It can't be that difficult. Oh my word, it was absolute purgatory. Every hill we came to, I had to stop, and it seemed like I'd been a smoker for 40 years, and I don't smoke.
Okay, so there is
my
a
legs,
difference. There is a difference between usual casual cycling and cycling that you do at the moment. What is the difference?
The key difference is at that time, slightly less now, but at that time, once I'd started cycling and got really into it, I was doing around about 15,000 kilometers a year of cycling. So, and when I cycle, I don't cycle along the flat, I cycle up the mountains. I'm one of those people that I'm sure many of your listeners see in their home countries, going up hills, and they think to themselves, why on earth are they doing that? Well, I'm one of those people. And when you get fit, it actually isn't as difficult as you might think. But when you're unfit, it's just impossible to go from where I was to where I am now in a single jump. I've been cycling now for over 10 years, and you gradually build your fitness and you build your ability to do bigger and better things.
I think what you do is impossible. For me, it is absolutely impossible. What do you do in order to build up your stamina?
Well, the stamina comes from just cycling miles. There's no substitute for getting, as we call it, getting the miles in. You can't do it. You can't do it 365 days a year. I take some time off sometimes, where I might not ride for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and maybe sometimes even longer. But you've got to regularly cycle. And it's a case, like many muscles, you use it or you lose it. So, and that's the same with your fitness. If you're on the bike and you're on the bicycle regularly, you will retain a certain degree of fitness, and then you build up to each event that you're maybe putting your name down for. I mean, I've cycled in the United States, I've cycled in South Africa, I've cycled in Poland, I've cycled in the UK, I've cycled in Spain, I've cycled in France, and I do events. So that and you build up to those events. So I get my training in, I start to build up, and my fitness improves, and then I'm ready for the race on the day.
What is your daily routine when you cycle?
Well, I'm just about to leave to go to Mallorca in a week's time. I should be down there for a month. And whilst I'm down there, every day I will cycle. So I get up early in the morning, and do a cycle ride probably anywhere from 50 kilometers to maybe 120 kilometers. And I'll do that every day.
Mm-hmm. And Mallorca is not a flat country at all.
Well, it's actually quite interesting. The reason that the pro teams use Majorca a lot is one, the temperature is very nice and pleasant, but the terrain, you can go in the mountains and it's literally mountains all the time, or you can go to the east of the island where it's a lot flatter. So you've got the best of both worlds. So if you want a day of going along the flat, high pace along the flat, you can go out to the east. If you want a day of working hard in the mountains and building up your legs, then you can go in the mountain region. And I live in the more mountainous side of the island. So literally when I leave my house, I have to start climbing. So, that's what I do most days.
Right. We want to promote a 6 points cycling race. Maybe
just let me correct you, Dorota, if I may.
Okay.
It's not we don't refer to it as a race. We've referred to it as an event. Of course, people want to go fast. We have different different people's abilities to take into account of. So we have faster groups and slower groups, but it isn't what we would refer to as a race per se.
Okay. So maybe let's start with why is it called like this? Who invented the name, and how did it start?
Well, the founder of 6 Point Cycling Challenges is a good friend of mine called Brian Fisser, formerly of South Africa. And he decided that he wanted to create a charitable event to raise money for local charities on the island based around cycling. And he thought, well, how can I do this? And he went to speak to the Calvia Council, which is one of the ajuntaments in Mallorca, where he lives. And he said he had this idea, would they help sponsor it? And they were very forthcoming in that regard. And he set up his first event. And I think there were about 8, maybe 10 people who went on the first event. And the whole idea of 6 points was to do the extremities of the island. So go out to the forest you can east, the forest north, the forest west, and so forth, and south, and then the highest point, Puigmayor, and then somewhere along the way, the lowest point, i.e. the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the idea. That was where the name 6 Points came from, 6 Point Cycling Challenges.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, Brian's a good friend of mine, and I was a regular cyclist with him in Majorca. And unfortunately, the first event that he had, I couldn't be on that one because I was elsewhere. I was somewhere abroad. I think I was in New York. And so I couldn't do that one. But Brian asked me to be involved as part of the business. In Mallorca, when you set up a charity, you basically are setting up a business. It's the same thing. There's no distinction. And so we have a business called 6 Point Cycling Challenges. And Brian is the founder and president, and I am vice president of that organization. And we now regularly raise money. So we've gone from 8 riders to this year we'll probably be close to 100 riders on the event.
Okay, and what charities do you support?
Well, we focus on charities for the island of Majorca, and we ASDICA is one of our main charities. ASDICA is an association for the disabled in Calvia. We work with a company called Yachting Gives Back, which is a charity that actually works with the yachting industry to give back to the island of Majorca, and we work very closely with them. We worked with an organization called SOS Animals, which looks after abandoned animals on the island of Majorca. We work with an organization called Shambhala, that again, it's another of the charities on the island. We don't just focus on one charity. We have 3 or 4 charities that we regularly give money to. For example, during the initial stages of the war in Ukraine, we helped a particular Ukrainian charity at that time. So we do a regular charitable donation and also rifle shot donations as and when needed.
Okay. Now, can we encourage maybe new participants to take part in the race? Could you make an appeal? Could you tell what's involved, how to prepare for such a race?
Yes, well, assuming that you are a regular cyclist, because I would not suggest that somebody who is not a regular road cyclist do this. But if you are a regular road cyclist and you want an event that, frankly, the vast majority of the people who come on our event say it's the best event they've ever been on, we have support cars. So every rider group has a support car with it. We have the drivers of those vehicles have been trained in medical stuff. So if there's a medical emergency, if someone comes off, we know certain things what to do. We have communications, so there's headsets, so we can communicate with the cars and communicate with each other. All of the bags that people with all of their clothes and stuff that go from hotel, because we stay in 2 hotels over the course of the 3 days. All of their kit is taken by car to the hotel. By the time they arrive at the hotel, it's in their room. And when you book and register to the event, everything, frankly, you just have to get yourself to Mallorca. The rest is taken care of.
Come to the airport. Come to the airport.
You get an airport transfer to the hotel, the first hotel, if you want to stay at that hotel. That is, we have one of our main title sponsors is a hotel group, and it's Reverence Hotels, and we start at their hotel. And so the people can stay at that hotel. They can extend their stay. The rates that we have are extremely generous. So we do as much as we can for the riders. We want to make the event the best event that cyclists have ever been on. And many of our riders say that's exactly the case when they've been on it.
So would you say it's good to come on the 16th, like the day before the race, or even earlier?
We have a few people who come several days before and do some cycling to get acclimatized. But many people can't take more than 3 or 4, 5 days off. So it really is down to the personal circumstances of the people. If they just want to turn up the day before, that's absolutely fine. We have another one of our donors is a cycling company, and they can provide bikes, so we can arrange for the hire of bikes and so on. So there's not many things that people have to worry about, and we've got answers to the vast majority of concerns that a regular rider might have.
Okay, and you have provided me with some details. We will post the details on our social media, so people who are interested to find out more can get access to your Facebook page. That's the same name as the race. Can you repeat the name?
Yes, it's 6 Point Cycling Challenges, and that's a number 6, not SIX, but number 6 points, capital POINTS. 6 Point Cycling Challenges. If you go online and do a Google search of 6 Point Cycling Challenges, all this stuff will come up. And we have a web page, and all of the details of the event will be up there. But yes, we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page. We have YouTube video of our events, and people can see how it is and what it's like when you ride into that finishing line, and many of the people from these charities are there cheering us in. It actually brings tears to your eyes, and it's a very moving experience for the vast majority of the people who are on our ride, and it makes it all worthwhile. we've raised over £250,000 in the last few years for our charity. So we're very proud of that.
It sounds truly amazing, and you must be proud of it.
I am, you know, I mean, like many people who retire, you know, you sometimes wonder yourself when you've had a very busy life, business life, and you finish that, well, how are you going to fill the time? And people say you can, time has a way of being filled, but it can be filled with things that don't really matter that much. And the things that matter in my life, frankly, now are my cycling and my family. And that's what I fill my days with. And, you know, but I believe I have a much, much better life now. I don't regret retiring early one little bit. In fact, if anything, I wish I'd have retired earlier. But I think 50 was fair enough.
That's great. Not many people can afford to retire at such a young age. So you
Yeah,
are
but
one of
also
the
Dorota, you know, I talked to a very good friend of mine yesterday, and I hadn't spoken to him for a long while. And I said, I've been trying to get a hold of you. What's the problem? And he said, I had a stroke last year and I was very close to dying. And I said, oh, my word, how did that happen? You know, like you would. And he said, you know, I wish I'd have retired earlier.
That's right.
And, you know, you don't get a second chance. That's the problem.
No,
So I would say to anybody, you know, if you've got the opportunity to retire, then take it.
Yeah. So
because
health,
as you get older, the days move past you very, very fast.
That's right. And health is something. If we don't have health, we don't have anything. So
Absolutely.
we do need to appreciate it. So perhaps we can talk a little bit about health. What have you changed in your life? What do you use at the moment? How do you support your health?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest single thing was the losing of weight. I went from a resting heart rate of around about 65 to a resting heart rate of around about 48. My blood pressure is very, very low these days. And so most of the things that, you know, would indicate an unhealthy position have gone away from me. But I supplement that. I take supplements. I use a Swedish health protocol. It's got a number of products which I use, and I use that to balance my body and get my body with the right balance of nutrients and trace elements and so forth. So, but I take the sort of things that many people think of. I make sure that my vitamin D is supplemented, particularly in the winter. I take things like potassium, chromium, you know, all sorts of different. I take marine collagen for my joints because I do suffer a little bit with some of my joints, and so I take marine collagen. But your body has got to be receptive to taking on that collagen. So yeah, I take a variety of things. I'm not slavish to taking health supplements, but I absolutely believe they work, and they work well for me. So that's what I tend to do.
And you have also tested yourself, and you have done the test that is not so much well known yet, but it tests 11 fatty acids. And I think this is something we would definitely recommend to our listeners because this is one of the foundations of health. And it's
Indeed.
especially important for sports people.
Yeah. What there are several ways, methods out there. Yes, I did have that test of my fatty acids, and frankly, when I took the first test, the results were not particularly great.
No.
And so I have taken supplements, a supplement that enables me to rebalance those fatty acids and make my body more able to perform, actually. And I'm aware that the protocol that I use, the Swedish protocol that I use, is being used by football pro teams, the top level pro teams in the UK. And other countries. So, I think, and these days, there was an article the other day talking about football and what's the difference between football now and football a few years ago. And the biggest difference is the athleticism of the players. There's always been football skills on the pitch, but the athleticism of the current crop of players is absolutely extreme. And they have their nutritionists and so on have to make absolutely sure that these elite athletes are capable of doing the things that they have to do. And this health protocol is one of the things that's helping one of the top teams do that.
I must say that even race horses take this. That's what I know for sure from people who are in this business. So yes, and Manchester City is one of the pro teams that takes this. Okay, great. So to sum up, supplementing is hugely important because at the moment, what we get from food is definitely not sufficient. We don't live in the second part of the 19th century. It unfortunately went deteriorated. I mean, the way food is produced nowadays doesn't provide enough nutrients, so it's important to know about it. Okay, Philip.
There are some things. When I'm down in Mallorca, there is no question my diet down there is healthier than in the UK. The so-called Mediterranean diet, lots of virgin olive oil, lots of salads, and so on. It's a healthier, lots of fish. It's a healthier than what I tend to eat in the UK. So, but you have there is good food available. It's just we're convenience eaters. Many of us, aren't we?
That's right. And good food is not cheap.
No.
And regarding olive oil, it has got a lot of polyphenols, and the problem is that it's forged. Like probably from what I know, 80% of olive oil is not what it seems to be, or what it should be. So also a remark about this: be careful what you actually get, because you may buy something that it's different inside than what it's on the label. And if you buy a very good olive oil, it has got also, it acts as a painkiller. So it's like ibuprofen, but it acts in a natural way, as opposed to, synthetic way like ibuprofen, and it doesn't have side effects. So I think on that note, we could finish. We have promoted the race. We talked about health. We talked about changing lifestyle. So I hope that we inspired our listeners, and we do invite people to take part in the race in Mallorca from the 17th to the 19th of May. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you, Dorota.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.